Especially the time they were teaching us on, they were teaching us impulse devices. I will not forget. My mom was like,
you know, we should probably have a segment dedicated to secondary school moments. A lot of people would have different things to say. Trust me. I think yours is better than my CRS notes. The back. I used to play Xano with my friends.
My CRS notes was so tiny. I used to use it to do goalposts.
And we didn't used to, you know, after every topic, they try to write moral lessons and give you assignments and all of that. I didn't used to do my assignment. Because to me, I didn't understand. On Sunday, you do Sunday school. Monday to Friday, someone will tell you to start doing CRS and be writing moral lessons and whatnot. So at some point, at third week or fourth week, the teacher came and said they are done with the syllabus for CRS. Good. So for every time we have other subjects, I will just bring out my CRS notes and, you know, we'll draw the table X and O. And guess what? My friends that were playing with me didn't even drop their book for it. I was the
Well done. Mine was football posts. So because we had leaflets for a workbook for CRS. That's Christian Religious Studies, for those of us that don't know. When IRS is Islamic Religious Studies. So for CRS, yes, there was a workbook that we used in school that particular time. And then, of course, in that workbook is where all the classes that you're having will be. That's where you write what you have learned and all of that. So the notes is just for extra, now, for the extra notes that they're giving us. So we weren't really writing much in that note. So you know that you have 40 leaves and 60 leaves. My mom made sure she bought 60 leaves for all of and then wrapped it with brown... Yeah. You know that brown paper and all that. So to make sure that my notes doesn't tear, my name was properly written on all of my books and all of that. But for CRS, 60 leaves. Do you know how big 60 leaves is? By the time I'd removed, you know, you open the middle and then you'd be tearing papers from. By the time I'd torn a lot of paper out of it, it was looking like 10 leaves. You know what we used to use it for? For goalposts on the table and ball. So this is how you play that ball. Yeah, you know, you play the ball this way. Exactly.
That's how they will know that when they sent us to school, instead of you to focus.
My mom was so upset. She was so upset. And I mean, I was the assistant class captain then.
Wow.
So they said that when they were writing Days of Noise Maker,
your name appeared 20 times. And guess what? I think that trend is still with you. She's still a noisemaker.
You know that thing where you have made so much noise, times 50.
And then they tell your mom.
But one thing that was really good, on a very serious note, about that open day was a lot of things would be revealed. So around that period, I was being bullied by this particular boy in my class. So the teacher would always ask me, why, what is wrong? I wouldn't say anything, and I'm not a crybaby. I would fight back. Most of the time, I would fight back. So, but you know, because of being overpowered, most times I'll just walk away. This boy would collect my notes, he would collect my food, he would do all of these things and everything. And I was always sad, but I wouldn't go and report in the house. I'll just not say anything. So that particular day, the teacher mentioned it in the presence of my mom, that there's this particular person has been, but I'm not saying anything about it. And of course, I started crying. Fortunately, the boy's parent also came. Around that period when I was doing my my mom was around for my open day, and then my mom had to report to the parent that your son has been bullying my child and all of these things, and the mother apologized and all of that. She's so sorry and everything. I will not forget that boy's name, but I won't say his name. And, you know, and they apologized, did everything. And I wouldn't know what punishment he was given, but I want to think it was severe because the boy, from that day, he respected my space and everything. In fact, we became friends before we ended school and all of that. We became very good friends because he would bully me so much, I'd be afraid. I'd be very afraid to leave. My mom always wondered why, but she didn't know. And then they asked me, I couldn't say anything because he would bully me so much and say that, something like this will happen where he would say, even if you tell your mom and then they come to school and then they beat me, she's just beating. He would just dust it. And then when he comes back, he will come back to bully me again. So I was scared that I was little. I wasn't thinking about, any other thing apart from the fact that, nothing's going to happen to him. He's still going to be here because he would say it, that I'm going to be here. Even if you report me, they will beat me. And when they beat me, I'll come back to bully you. And then you're in trouble. And then I'll deal with you. And all of that. It was bigger. All these bigger kids. I was small. And I was sad. And I was bullied for so long. And then, of course, the good thing was my mom came and my mommy fought back. That was that.
It is actually worse when you're in the boarding house.
Oof.
And you don't have, anyone to report to aside from the hostel mistress.
Or your senior,
and sometimes,
your school
even
money.
when you talk to them, they probably don't understand the gravity of whatever it is. They just say, okay, sorry, tell the principal, things like that. They don't take they don't take steps to see how this stops.
Can we stop here?
It reminded me of one particular story too in secondary school. And this boy, we saw that every time he was always bullying people. But before I continue the story, we have Kemi calling from Lagos. Hello, Kemi. Good morning.
Good morning, Kemi.
Hello, baby. Good morning. How are you?
Hello.
Hello, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes. Good morning, Kemi. How are you doing this morning?
Fine. Most of you are really having fun on the show, and I like the angle of conversation.
Thank you.
So, I honestly believe that bullying is something that should not be tolerated here. And as a child, I was once bullied, when I was much younger, and I could tell that any child in that position would feel a certain way, right? It kills a child's morale to want to push forward. So I don't feel like I punishment because the story of Wuraola shared, saying the parent chose to ground the child, I don't think that's punishment enough. Because like Omobolade also said, it could just be that the child does not understand the reason as why they are being grounded. What if it's the child that is actually used to staying indoor every time? So that grounding is no different. You understand? So I feel the right punishment for such a child is to take away the privileges that they have. Okay. And definitely, what did you say?
Go on. Yes, go ahead.
Go on.
Okay, and definitely it has to fix the crime. Say, for example, if the child was cyberbullying, right, using their phones to bully another child, then as a parent, I feel like taking away their cell phone or whatever technology they are using to, commit that bullying, they should take away that privilege. That's one punishment. And they could also support, they can support the school's punishment. Say, for example, so I just used to believe that there are several reasons as why a child would want to bully other children. For example, perhaps they are a part of the clique or a group or a special group in school that makes them feel like, they have rights and something like that. Say, for example, let's just share it, if they feel like, because of their status, because of their position in school, they feel like they can bully someone, right? It is okay to actually take that privilege away from them. It is okay to, if they are past leaders of a particular group, you can actually tell them that, henceforth, you're not going to be the leader anymore. And they bring it down. I feel like just taking away a child's privilege, the means at which is using to bully other children will really, really help. Because they need to understand that bullying is not accepted. It is actually wrong. And when you actually bully children, you
It
know,
affects
you
them.
will be punished for it. A lot of children just bully to be bullied. At times they don't even know the, consequences of what they are
what they're
doing.
doing.
So you as a parent and as a teacher, and as an authoritative in the life of that child, explain to the child the reason as to why bullying is not good, and these are the possible punishments that will come with you bullying another child. Until then, a child might not really understand why they are bullying other children. So if you take this key, really, one punishment that fits the crime. That's what I say.
Thank you so much. That's very insightful. Thank you very much. Have yourself a lovely
All
day.
right.
All
Great
right.
stuff. Bye.
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 Yeah, I mean, she said something that I think is very important. Make sure your child understands why
Reason why you're doing
bullying
this.
is not nice. Because there are times whereby, I beg your pardon, there are certain situations that form a child to behave the way
How
that
they
it might
behave.
it might even be you. You might be the reason why that child is going to school to bully
bully
people because
people.
you're probably a bully too. And the child is seeing that. It might be the movies that they're watching, the cartoons they're seeing. It might be the people in their environments, their friends. It might be anything. So you need to first even know why that is happening. And so when you are having a conversation with your child understands what you're saying. And they need to know that I am doing this because you need to understand that as a human being, you shouldn't oppress other people. Because if you don't understand it, you will grow up to become an oppressor. You are always bullying other people. You're always feeling that whatever it is that you want to do has to, go ahead of other people. You feel like you need to subdue other people. You feel like you need to overpower other people. That is not good enough.
Okay. So before the call came in, the story I was sharing.
Yeah.
So this guy felt he could bully because of his stature. He was buff, tall, like he was huge.
Yeah.
So like just his height, looking at him, is enough to scare you.
Yeah.
Sometimes he just stands in front of you and like, what? And do you understand?
You get scared, yeah.
Exactly, you get scared. And guess what? It was from that point, the school didn't really pay attention to that. Like a lot of students laid complaints that, okay, so this person is always bullying. And he was threatened with suspension. At some point, expulsion. But he still didn't stop. So the mom, they had to call the parents to school to let them know that, so this is what your child does in school. And he does different things like bullying junior students, asking them to write his notes. Sometimes when your parents come and they bring provisions, he takes it right from the gate.
In boarding school.
Exactly, he takes it from the gate and you're left with nothing, and you must not talk, you must not report. If you report, he's coming back for you. And the coming back is not something you want to experience.
Yeah.
And the mom, when the mom came, she was like, so why is there not a punishment in this school for situations like this? Why are you calling me? I mean, give him whatever punishment that you should for him to learn his lesson. And the school was like, okay, so for us, our policy states that before you give a child a severe punishment, you need to speak with the parents and get their consent before doing that. And the mom was like, okay, you know what? I would suggest a punishment. And the principal was like, so what punishment do you want to give to this child? She was like, you see me tomorrow morning in school. Guess what this lady did? She went to sew khaki uniform from, like, she knew his size, her son's size.
Of course.
She took it, she bought the material, took it to tailor to sew short neck, and this, it wasn't a good material. Like, it was like brown color. It wasn't a fancy thing to wear. And she came to school that morning, right on the assembly ground, called her son out.
Okay.
Now, this
Very
wasn't
good.
the principal doing it. His own mom did this to him. She called him out and she took him to the restroom. She was like, okay, so change. She was like, just for the sake of you growing up and not growing up with a traumatic experience, I would have told you to change right in front of everyone on the assembly ground into that uniform. But she took him to the restroom. He changed, brought him back to the assembly ground, gave him cutlass, hoe, everything. Took him to the farmland of the school and told him to clear that place. And he did that for 1 week without, trust me, after this experience, you know when they say humility at its peak, that was what happened to this guy. In fact, if he sees you doing something, he would help you out. It was that. So now for that kind of situation, it didn't require, because sometimes violence or beating the child might not be the way forward.
Yeah.
It might just even give them the strength to do more. Just like you have said, that there was a particular boy in your school that all he knows is just beating. And then
That's it.
Exactly. It doesn't change. It doesn't take anything from me.
Exactly.
So sometimes beating might not be the way forward. It's just for you to look for, like, know your child. She knew her child. If the principal probably thought of a punishment, it might not work. But she knew the kind of child she had. She knows that he hates anything that has to do with embarrassment. And that was why she brought that strategy, just to teach him a lesson. So if you know your child, you know certain things. Maybe I feel like the father who decided to keep the girl grounded, right, probably knows the kind of child he has. And he knows that she's maybe addicted to these chocolates and biscuits, or she can't do without them. And for him to take it from her would serve as a lesson for her not to bully. I mean, she would not want that to go on for long, so she would try to adjust or stop whatever it is that she is doing. So as a parent or guardian, if you know your child and you know whatever strategy it is to, you know, help them stop certain habits, like bad habits like bullying, then why not? I feel that the responsibility falls more on the parent and the guardian to, you know, be able to correct the child, because they know the child and they know what way it is they can use to stop bullying.
I think it's so difficult to parent a child. That's the truth. And it's not a very easy task, but it is something that must be done. And I'm saying this because there are times whereby I see how tedious it can be to train certain children, especially the ones that grow up to be very stubborn.
Yes.
But anyways, it is so important to us that you pay attention to how your child grows. Ask in school, go to their school. You don't necessarily have to let them know before you show up. Surprise. Know what your children are doing in school. Know if their children are being treated properly in school. Know if they're getting the education that you are paying for. I mean, how can you be paying a lot of money and you realize that your child is being bullied in that school? So the child is not learning anything, and the child is scared to be in school, and you are paying for that. No. That's unacceptable. Go there, see what's happening, and if your child is the bully, have a conversation before giving whatever it is that you decide to do. I think, to be honest, for this particular parent, like you have said, a punishment for bullying is individual specific and parent specific. But what is important is if that child understands that this is why we are doing what you are doing, and we're doing this because we want you to stop that behavior, and have some sort of conversation. I want you to promise me that you will not go and do this. Otherwise, mommy will be disappointed with you. I want you to understand that being a bully is not a very good thing. What do you need? What do you want? Why are you doing what you're doing? You know, have these conversations with your children. You'll be surprised the kind of things that children know. You'll be I'm thinking about when I was growing up and the kind of things that I knew. Talk less of children of this generation that technology has already taken. They know so many things. So do not underestimate your child. I mean, look at that conversation we're having on the genius. The child genius that's about 10, that was already in the university, currently taking classes that are meant for people that are already like 25 adults, or thereabouts. So it's so important that you pay a very keen attention to your child. All right, we have more to come on Tea Coffee, so we don't want you to go anywhere. Please stay tuned.